I just saw The Flash, and I have some thoughts. Now, I want to make it clear that this is my personal opinion to which you can disagree with, as I have seen a lot of debate online about this movie. Either you'll love it or you'll hate it. Personally, while I like it, I did have some issues with certain elements in the movie. So, further ado, let's get started. Of course, we have to talk about The Flash first, that being Barry Allen, the first one, not the second one. Well, in the 2017 Justice League movie, I thought the character was a little too quirky to the point where he was low-key cringy. I thought this time around the character was much more realized, and his character's quirks were more used for actual character trait rather than it being a running joke. However, despite the fact that he was a quirky character, he also had a lot of emotional scenes, especially the one at the end of his mom, where he's in the grocery store with her and is talking with her. It's just very impactful. The CGI in all of the scenes with the Flash, in my opinion, is not great, nor is the CGI really in any scene really not great. But this is a big but. I think it works within the tone of the movie and the theme that the kind of crappy CGI, even though it's bad, it still works. It doesn't take you out of the movie, which I think is definitely a plus. The only time I think it really did kind of take me out was when he was trying to save the babies, and just the whole scene, in my opinion, just didn't really fit well. And also, I don't really like seeing babies being in danger. And then he put the baby in the microwave. I thought that was just very unresponsible of him. Although I loved all the scenes with his parents, I thought any scene with his parents was, in my opinion, probably the highlights of the movie emotionally. As every scene with them was very emotional, and I thought it just really worked. Especially with his mother. But scenes with his dad were also really emotional, and I thought it really worked. Especially the court scene, I thought that was great. Iris in the movie doesn't really do much, but I did like their interactions. Even if I was Iris, I would have never asked Barry on a date. That being the fact that she only got the impression of him that he was kind of crazy. Yet again, Iris in this movie does seem like she also might be a little bit off the deep end, which I'm okay with, because I think that's also an interesting concept to go with. However, they likely won't be able to get that chance. Next is Dark Flash, who's actually never called that in the movie. He is the second Barry, who, in my opinion, when he was first introduced, I thought he was really just the worst. But he did grow on me, and I think as the movie went on, the character did start to go into a bit of a villain role. And as we saw, he definitely eventually went to that level. The design on Dark Flash is very eerie. However, we barely see it. And I do like the fact that he made his Flash costume out of an old Bat costume, which does make sense to me. Also, I do like that it doesn't look professional. I know a lot of people were just trying to meme on it, which I understand because it does look bad. But it's intended to. It does make sense that why it looks so bad, because he made it last second. I'm also not entirely sure what his deal with Supergirl was. He seemed very attached to her. As in, overly attached to her. I know she was their best bet as winning to this war that was going on and to save the world. But it did seem like he was overly attached to her just a bit. Like he had maybe had a crush on her or something. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. He did feel like a separate character than the original Barry, which I did like. They didn't kind of blend. Instead, they felt very much like two different people. Which definitely is a credit to Ezra Miller's acting skills. Even if in real life he has done some questionable stuff. Next, Michael Keaton as Batman, which was great to see again. And while I loved the character, and I thought the character was one of the highlights of the movie, I thought he wasn't utilized as much as he could have been. I love the comparison between him and Barry with the whole conversation they had with parents. The story, in my opinion, should have slowed down around this area along with Supergirl, but it really didn't. Instead of picked up fast and really brushed past both of those characters, which I think is, in my opinion, a waste of a good idea. But of what we got, I thought Michael Keaton was amazing in the role once again, because he's always amazing in the role. And even though he is much older, I thought he very much held his own. In fact, I thought he held his own more than both Barrys did that in a fight. So that is really impressive. I know it's CGI and a stunt double, but regardless, I think that is very impressive. And the suit also, yes, I know is slightly different, but it's still, in my opinion, aged very well. It's very iconic. Supergirl, she surprisingly has a very small role in this movie. She has a bigger role than Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Ben Affleck's Batman put together, but still, I feel as if for the marketing of this movie, having had her in almost all the trailers, on almost all the posters, she really isn't used all that much. But of what we got of her, I thought she was great, especially in the Supergirl suit. Her fight with Zod was also very, very cinematic. It was, yet again, some crappy CGI, but I did enjoy it. Her story is also very emotional, and I thought the fact that she learned that infant Kal-El had died, in just the expression on her face when she learned that, was just so heartbreaking. Learning that she failed to protect him. I hope Sasha Calle gets a return in this role in the Supergirl movie. I'm not entirely sure if she will. I hope she does. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Next, I want to talk about the plot as a whole. That is, I think there are things here that are rushed that need to be slowed down, and things that are slowed down that need to be rushed. For example, I think the baby saving scene was, in my opinion, way too long. Yet, Supergirl's fight with Zod, in my opinion, is way too short. Supergirl's arc in this entire movie, in my opinion, is also way too short. As well as Dark Flash's arc of becoming Dark Flash. We see it briefly, but we don't really get there. But the strongest part of the plot is definitely Nora Allen, that being Barry's mom, and that he wants to save her. I think that is definitely the strongest part of the entire plot and movie. Because it doesn't, in my opinion, feel rushed or slowed down. Instead, it fits perfectly as what it is. And the time we spend on it. Also, a handful of League members do appear. Ben Affleck's Batman, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman all do appear. While Cyborg and Superman are both MIA. Well, not really, but they're both absent in this movie. They also don't explain where Wonder Woman even is during the Flashpoint timeline, because they explain that Aquaman wasn't born. Vic hadn't become Cyborg yet, Bruce was a lot older, and Kal-El was dead, but where was Wonder Woman? Was she just on Themyscira still? They could have just ran there, I guess. Or can this Flash not run on water? Or, like DCEU Wonder Woman, the main one, was she still on Earth? That being the real world, I mean, yeah, Themyscira is on Earth, but I meant, is she really out and about still? Because if so, he could have just went and looked for her. Regardless of what we got of the JLA in this movie, which wasn't a lot, I think definitely varies. I thought that Wonder Woman and Batman came across very strongly. Well, in my opinion, the post-credit scene of Aquaman was done, in my opinion at least, kind of, not necessarily cringy, but it felt a little insulting to Aquaman's character. I know the character does like having alcohol. However, to see the character in that state and the way it was handled, I think was a little distasteful to Aquaman fans. It just felt like it was making fun of the character altogether. Which probably isn't the case, but that's just how I interpreted it. And finally, I want to talk about the return of Zod, who also had a pretty small role in the movie, but I really liked it. I thought Zod was one of the best villains of the entire DCEU. To have him return in what is maybe the last DCEU movie was a smart choice. I found him just as menacing and scary as he was in the first Man of Steel movie. I say first as if there's going to be a second one, which there isn't. It does make sense because that is the start of the DCEU, so to have it all end this way with him once again does make sense. I also love the flashback to Barry trying to actually help out in that whole Man of Steel stuff, even though he wasn't actually there, that being retconned in. I really like that idea. And I really like when Zod took over the networks and was talking to people, telling the Earth that he was coming, that he has arrived. I thought that was just very scary, just as scary as it was in Man of Steel. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!